Welcome to ARC Virtual Learning. In this video, we are going to discuss about Schedule 1 of CGST Act. What is Schedule 1? Schedule 1 has list of activities which can be classifiable as supply even if made without consideration. If you refer to Section 7, Section 7 has few mandatory ingredients to classify some transaction as a supply. One of such mandatory ingredient is consideration. Without consideration, there cannot be any supply generally. But CGST Act has included Schedule 1 to specify some exceptions in which cases activity can be treated as supply even if made without consideration. Such activities are available in Schedule 1. Only 4 paragraphs are available under the Schedule 1, but these 4 paragraphs will impact lot of transactions, and these 4 paragraphs will convert lot of transactions into supply which are otherwise not classifiable as supply because there is no consideration. So let us see one by one. First we will discuss about para 1. Para 1 says permanent transfer or disposal of business assets where input tax rate has been availed on such assets. Here three conditions need to be satisfied if you go through this para 1. First condition is transfer or disposal shall be permanent. Second condition is transfer or disposal shall be of business asset. And the third condition is input tax rate should have been availed on such asset. What is transfer or disposal shall be permanent? When we will say transfer or disposal is permanent, if we transfer something without an intention to receive it back, or without a requirement or condition to receive it back, then that transfer or disposal will be said to be permanent. Then what is business asset? Business asset can be any asset of the business. It is not restricted to fixed asset. You have to be very careful in reading this clause. It is not talking about fixed asset, it is talking about business asset. So it can include current asset, stock, receivables, everything. So any asset of business can be a business asset. So uh, uh, there is one more doubt, whether goods only can be classified as a business asset. No, sometimes services will also be classifiable as business asset. For example, any unexpired right in a business franchisee permanently transferred to another person, then that is also an asset. What is that? Unexpired right in the business franchisee. We are transferring our right in the business franchisee. That is also an asset. So anything that can be classifiable as an asset and it belongs, it is for the business, then it is a business asset. And any such transfer when made permanently, any disposal when made permanently, and input tax credit has been availed on such asset, then it will be falling under para 1 of schedule 1 of CGST Act, and so it will be classifiable as supply even if made without consideration. And here if you examine carefully, it says transfer or disposal. Transfer means there should be another person who will be receiving it, but if you see disposal, there need not be any other person. It may be just a discarding of asset, just a disposal. So mere disposal or discarding of an asset can also be leviable to GST if it is a permanent disposal and ITC has been availed on such asset. Okay. And one more thing I want to discuss here is, suppose if we procure some assets for CSR activities or for donating to any orphanage or any charitable institution or any trust, then if we argue that it is for furtherance of the business, if we argue that CSR activity is for furtherance of business and avail ITC on that, again if you are transferring that asset to any other person or any trust, or if you are donating it, then it will fall under schedule 1 para 1, para 1 of schedule 1, and so it will be leviable to GST. So you should be very careful in case if you procure any CSR, any asset for CSR activities, or if you donate any business asset, you should understand that you cannot take ITC on that asset, or if you take ITC on that asset, it will be uh, classifiable in para 1 when you are transferring that asset, and it will be liable to GST. Either way, you will not be getting any input tax credit benefit out of that asset which you are donating for CSR, or which you are donating as a charitable activity. Okay, this is all about para 1. Next, para 2. Para 2 says supply of any goods or services or both between related persons or between distinct persons when made in course or furtherance of business. Who is a related person? Related person is defined under section 15. It is given as an explanation to section 15. You can go through that explanation. It lists out certain persons who all can be related persons. And distinct person. Distinct person is defined under section 25 subsection 4 and 25 subsection 5. Distinct person is nothing but different units of a different GSTs of a same PAN or a branch office of the company which is existing outside India. So different branch offices are treated as a distinct person. Different GSTs are treated as distinct persons. So even though they are under same PAN and they are a single entity, they are treated as distinct person as per 25. This is a deemed fiction, and they will be treated as separate persons only for the purpose of GST. So any supply of goods or services between such distinct persons will also be taxable. So because of this entry, a number of transactions which are otherwise not taxable. Generally, what happens? Any supply between distinct persons will not be with consideration. It will be other than by way of consideration only, because they all belongs to same entity, and so any transfer to self will not be for consideration. But because of deemed fiction in 25(4) and 25(5) of CGST Act, they are treated as distinct persons, and because of para 2 of Schedule 1, any transfer between such distinct persons when made without consideration also will be classifiable as a supply. So let us see some of the activities which will be classifiable as a supply because of this para. Any stock transfer between distinct persons. What is stock transfer? Transfer between transfer of stock from one GSTN to another GSTN, or one unit to another unit. Generally, what happens? We will transfer stock without consideration because that other unit is also our unit. But such stock transfers will also be classifiable as a supply because of this entry. And again, transfer of new or used capital goods or fixed goods, including movement of laptops when employees are transferred from one location to another. Suppose if I have an employee in Karnataka, also I have an employee in Delhi. If I move that employee from Karnataka to Delhi, I will have to move his laptop also from Karnataka to Delhi. Then this also will be treated as a movement from one GSTN to another GSTN. This will be treated as supply between distinct persons, and it will be leviable to GST. And next, bill to ship to transaction. What happens in a bill to ship to transaction? Vendor will issue invoices to one office and will ship the goods to another office, or provides the service to other office. In this case, so in this case also there is a supply between my head office and branch office, or my two units, because vendor has billed to me and supplied the service to branch office. So it will be, there are two transactions in this, one between vendor and me, and other between me and my other unit. So these transactions also will be classifiable as a supply and leviable to GST. And next, centralized management functions like a board of directors, finance, accounts, HR, legal. Generally, all these will be sitting in corporate office, and corporate office generally will not have sales, or it will be only a cost center, and it will provide these services to all the units across the country. In such case, also it is there is a transfer of service between corporate office to other offices in the same PAN. So these transactions are also leviable to GST. So if you go deep into this cross charge, we call it cross charge, charging of services provided by corporate office to any other office, or from branch office to corporate office. This billing is called cross charge. If we go deep into this, we will end up in a number of scenarios, and there is no clarity to date whether to include employee cost also as part of this cross charge or not. There are various uh, judiciary decisions which are favorable to SSC, which are otherwise to SSC also. One of such famous one is Columbia AAR advanced ruling, which says we should include even employee cost to cross charge. So we will not go deep into that now. We will discuss schedule 1 first. We will have a separate discussion on that in another video, on cross charge in another video. Okay. Next, sale of goods by one registration, but services sale, support services or warranty services or post sale services are provided by another unit of same entity. Then this is also treated as a supply of service between two units. If you carefully examine this paragraph, will have overriding effect on first paragraph. Go back and see what is first paragraph. First paragraph is permanent transfer or disposal of business asset, where input tax credit has been availed on such asset. So if there is a permanent transfer between distinct persons where I haven't availed input tax credit also, so if you see first paragraph, three conditions need to be satisfied. There should be a permanent transfer, and there should be a transfer of business asset, and I should have availed ITC. So there is a permanent transfer between distinct persons. Condition 1 is satisfying, and condition 2 is also satisfying because I am transferring business asset, but I haven't availed input tax credit on that business asset. In such case also, it will be leviable to GST. It will be classifiable as a supply and leviable to GST because of para 2. It is not classifiable as supply because of the provision of para 1 of schedule 1, but because of para 2 of schedule 1, it will be classifiable as a supply. And for para 2, there is an exception that any gift provided by an employer to employee which is valuing less than 50,000 in a financial year, then that cannot be treated as supply of goods or supply of services. This proviso is a peculiar proviso. There is a separate schedule to notify the transaction which shall not be treated as supply of goods or supply of services. Schedule 3 is notified for that purpose. Schedule 3 is included under CGST Act to specify the transaction which shall not be treated as supply of goods or services. But this this activity of gift by an employer to employee is provided under Schedule 1 as a provision to Para 2. Okay, and next we will go to Para 3. Para 3 says supply of goods by a para 3 has two limbs. Supply of goods by principal to his agent, where agent undertakes to sell these goods on behalf of principal. And limb 2 says by an agent to his principal, where an agent undertakes to receive such goods on behalf of the principal. So, as an agent, if I undertake to supply on behalf of the principal, then any goods received from my principal will be a supply to me, and my supply will be separately taxable. And similarly, as an agent, if I undertake to receive any goods on behalf of my principal, so whatever I receive will be a supply in my hands, and whatever goods I am receiving will be deemed to be a supply to principal also. Okay, this is all between agent and principal. Definitions of agent is given under para section 2 subclause 5 subsection 5, and definition of principal is given in section 2 subsection 88. Next paragraph is about import of service. Import of service by a person from a related person or from any other established outside India in course or furtherance of business. Import of service generally involves foreign exchange. So, im- uh, but even if there is no foreign exchange and even if there is no consideration, if I do some import or service from a related person or from any of my establishment outside India, then such transaction will also be classifiable as import of service and I will be leviable to GST under RCM. So here it clearly says import of services by a person. It is not restricted to a taxable person or registered person. Earlier the class used to be like import of services by a taxable person, but it has been amended with effect from 1st February 2019, and now it is made import of services by a person. So any person, he need not be a registered person or a taxable person. Any person who imports services from a related person will be deemed to have supplied. The transaction will be deemed to be a supply, and he will have to pay GST on that under RCM. So because of this, any services received by a person from branch outside India will be treated as a supply. This is all about Schedule 1. We'll go through all four paragraphs quickly once again. Paragraph 1, it says permanent transfer disposal of business assets where input tax credit has been availed on such assets. So here three conditions need to be satisfied. There should be a transfer disposal of a business asset. The transfer disposal shall be permanent and I should have availed ITC on that. Second, it says supply of goods or services or both between related person or between distinct persons in course or furtherance of business. And paragraph 3 says supply of goods by a principal to his agent when agent undertakes to supply on behalf of principal, and by an agent to principal where agent undertakes to receive goods on behalf of the principal. And next, import of service by a person from a related person or from any of his establishment outside India in the course of furtherance. Okay guys, thank you.